Okay, so you want to run a medieval executioner's business. You are standing outside the walls of a southern German town in the late 15th century. Behind you rises the public gallows, built high enough to be seen from the road. In front of you is a yard, a cart, a shed for tools, and the carcass of a dead horse someone wants removed before it begins poisoning the air. There is no black hood hiding your identity. Everyone knows who you are. The town knows where you live because the court may need you. Farmers know because animals die. Prison guards may arrive when a suspect is ordered to undergo torture. Your neighbors know because they prefer that you not live near them. The obvious product of your trade is death. A prisoner is condemned, a crowd gathers, you use a rope, a sword, a wheel, or whatever punishment the judges have ordered, and someone pays you. Death sentences arrive too irregularly to provide a dependable livelihood. A town may go months without one. Smaller jurisdictions may have no permanent executioner at all. They send for a specialist from another town, pay his travel costs, then return to not needing him. The town therefore pays to keep you available for work that lawful authority requires and respectable workers do not want attached to their names. That arrangement determines who pays you, what supports your household between executions, and why an avoided man can still hold protected duties. You do not open a shop and wait for private customers. Your principal customer is the jurisdiction, a town council, a territorial lord, or a court acting in that authority's name. Judges decide the sentence, officials arrange the place and time, and you carry out the physical act. Depending on the local arrangement, your compensation may have several layers. You might receive a basic allowance for holding the office and remaining ready. Individual punishments may bring separate fees. Travel beyond the town can be reimbursed. Housing, land, fuel, food, clothing, or certain rights may be attached to the position instead of being delivered entirely as coins. A fixed allowance keeps you nearby during quiet months. Task fees compensate you when the court actually calls. With fees alone, a peaceful season is financially unpleasant. With an allowance, the council spends money while the gallows stands empty. A mixture answers both problems. Enough regular support to keep the office occupied, followed by additional payment when the court uses it. A death sentence cannot always wait while the council searches surrounding towns for someone willing and technically capable of carrying it out. Public punishment is meant to show that the court's judgment has force. A condemned prisoner standing beside an empty scaffold would show something else. Judicial work supplies the first part of your income. Execution is its most visible item, though it may not be the most frequent. Courts can impose whipping, branding, mutilation, exposure, banishment, and other corporal penalties. If an accused person is judicially tortured during an investigation, the executioner may be summoned to apply the ordered procedure under the supervision of officials. The authority comes from the court, including the limits of what is to be done. You perform the physical work. That can require more skill than the title suggests. During torture, the judges want pain severe enough to produce answers, while they may still require the prisoner alive for confession, sentencing, or execution. A public whipping must follow the judgment. During mutilation, a mistake can kill someone whom the court did not sentence to death. Even an execution takes preparation. For a hanging, you inspect the rope, its fastening point, and the scaffold. Late medieval hanging does not normally use the carefully calculated long drop familiar from much later execution practice. Death can come through strangulation, constriction, injury, or some combination of them. The town's concern is not humane precision in the modern sense. It wants the sentence completed without the machinery breaking or the prisoner escaping. Beheading requires different preparations. The edge must be maintained. The condemned person must be positioned correctly. Your assistants need to know when to release their grip and where not to stand. A sword suitable for the work is a valuable specialized tool, but proper care lets it last through many punishments. Much of the expense lies in keeping yourself, your assistants, and your equipment ready for an event that may not happen this week. The gallows usually belongs to the jurisdiction's public apparatus. It is not merely your private equipment. Timber, masonry, prison access, guards, carts, and scaffold construction may involve other town workers. You operate within that apparatus without necessarily financing the entire spectacle. Your own fixed investment is smaller than the gallows suggests. You need tools, ropes, storage, transport, perhaps a horse, and often assistance. You do not need to own the prison or construct a new scaffold for every condemned prisoner. Skill is harder to replace than rope or timber. If a blade requires repeated blows, the crowd sees failure. If a prisoner gets loose, the officials look incompetent. If you kill someone during a punishment that was not supposed to be fatal, the town has acquired a legal and political problem. Many men in a medieval town are capable of violence. The council requires something more specific: violence carried out on command, in public, within a legal ritual, by someone who will still be available next month. That gives you a protected position. Few people want the office, and fewer can enter it without training. Once appointed, you face little ordinary competition. The difficulty is that the work comes in bursts. Imagine a representative season. For several weeks, there is no death sentence. Then the court summons you for a public whipping. Later, you assist during an interrogation. A convicted thief is branded and expelled. A body must be removed after a prisoner dies in custody. Finally, another jurisdiction asks you to travel there for an execution because it has no permanent specialist of its own. Several payments follow, but only when judges create the demand. You cannot advertise a discount hanging to stimulate the market. A full prison does not give you the freedom to increase your price. The court decides when there is work. The steadier part of the livelihood happens away from the scaffold. Animals die constantly. A horse breaks a leg. An ox collapses from disease or age. A cow dies before it can be slaughtered for meat. A pig is found rotting. These carcasses are heavy, unpleasant, and dangerous to leave beside houses, roads, wells, or waterways. Someone has to remove them. In many towns of the German-speaking world and neighboring regions, the same dishonored occupational world that supplied executioners also supplied knackers, the people who collected and processed dead animals. Sometimes the offices were closely connected. Sometimes the work belonged to related specialists. For the livelihood we are following, the executioner's appointment includes, or sits beside, a protected right to remove carcasses. Now the yard outside the walls begins to make economic sense. The owner of a dead horse may pay for its removal, or the duty may be supported through privileges attached to your office. Once the carcass reaches your yard, usable parts can provide further income. The hide may be removed. Fat can be rendered. Hooves, hair, bones, and other material may find buyers where local custom permits. What cannot be used must be buried, burned, or otherwise disposed of away from the crowded town. The removal brings one payment. Recoverable material may bring another. The court can pass an entire month without condemning anyone. Livestock are more dependable. Carcass work also uses assets you already possess. You live near the edge of town, have a cart, and need a yard away from crowded households. Your assistants are accustomed to handling bodies and contaminated material. Combining the work requires less new equipment than establishing a separate operation. A butcher may already own knives and hooks and understand animal anatomy. His trade, however, depends on public confidence that the meat on his stall comes from properly slaughtered animals fit for consumption. Handling putrid or diseased carcasses threatens that reputation and may conflict with guild rules and market regulation. Your standing cannot fall much further because a dead horse entered the yard. Society has already placed you among the contaminated. People may refuse to share a table with you. Entry into guilds outside your occupational circle can be difficult. Marriage choices for your children may narrow because another household does not want the connection. Families associated with execution work can become linked with executioner or knacker families, circulating training, assistance, appointments, and marriages within the same limited network. Custom can enforce these boundaries without a universal written law. A master craftsman does not need a statute telling him to reject your son if admitting him might anger the rest of the guild. A family can refuse your daughter without producing a formal prohibition. The effects are practical. Your children lose routes into ordinary trades. Unrelated customers may avoid doing business with the household. Earnings do not readily turn into social acceptance. At the same time, fewer people are prepared to compete for your present work. If only a small group of families possesses the experience, contacts, and willingness to administer judicial punishments, an authority cannot recruit an executioner as casually as it hires a day laborer. The town may provide an allowance, housing, or exclusive duties simply to keep someone qualified within reach. A handsome salary is not required. Exclusive access to unpleasant work may be enough. If you alone have the right or duty to remove dead livestock within the jurisdiction, each fallen animal is brought into the economic territory of your office. If corporal punishment is reserved for the appointed executioner, a stranger cannot arrive with a rope and undercut your fee. Appointment limits competition, and the reputation of the work limits the number of applicants. Other dirty duties may be attached to executioners or associated workers in particular towns, disposing of unclaimed human remains, clearing refuse, dealing with cesspits, or supervising activities that respectable office holders want kept at arm's length. These tasks do not form one universal European job description. The recurring arrangement is simpler. A worker already marked as dishonorable can be given several dishonorable duties without compromising the standing of additional trades. The council then has one office it can summon for several unwanted services. You receive recurring work, and officials do not need to negotiate from the beginning whenever a carcass appears or a sentence is issued. The same arrangement can cover human remains. Your work may continue after the condemned prisoner stops moving. The body might be displayed as part of the punishment. It could be left on a gallows, placed on a wheel, divided, transported elsewhere, or eventually buried outside ordinary sacred arrangements. The court determines the sentence and the treatment of the corpse. You and your assistants supply the labor. One capital case may therefore involve preparation, execution, transport, display, later removal, and disposal. These are several tasks, though they still arise from one judicial order. The court may itemize them or compensate them through an established arrangement, but the authority and the payer remain the same. In a town-run jurisdiction, money normally comes through the civic treasury or the officials responsible for judicial expenses. In a lord's territory, it may come through the lord's administration. When another jurisdiction hires you, because it lacks its own executioner, Its officials can cover the fee and travel costs. The condemned person does not select the service, bargain over the method, or approve the account. Judicial costs may ultimately be recovered from property, fines, families, or other sources under local law. Your direct commercial relationship is with the authority that summoned you. An official payer offers a better chance of eventual payment than open credit to strangers. Immediate cash is another matter. A town can owe you for completed work while waiting for tax receipts or other revenues. Some compensation may already be embedded in housing, land use, grain, fuel, or occupational privileges. Your income can be real while your purse remains light on the day of the execution. Carcass removal helps fill that gap. A judicial claim may require patience. Animal byproducts can sometimes be sold more quickly into local craft networks. Official work keeps your appointment. Hides, fat, hair, and removal payments cover more ordinary needs. Consider a representative year. You begin with whatever fixed base accompanies the office. Perhaps an allowance, perhaps housing or land, perhaps a combination. It keeps the post occupied without making you wealthy. Several corporal punishments add fees. Torture sessions and an execution add more. A journey to a neighboring jurisdiction brings an extraordinary payment while using your horse, your time, and perhaps the labor of an assistant. Dead livestock arrive throughout the year. Removal payments are smaller than the fee for a major execution, but there are more of them. Hides and other recoverable materials add another stream. Your household may keep animals or cultivate attached land if the arrangement permits it. At the end of the year, everyone remembers the execution. The ordinary carcasses may have done more to keep the household fed. The costs differ between the two sides of the occupation. Judicial work consumes specialized labor and readiness more than raw materials. A rope can be replaced and a blade sharpened. Assistants must be fed and paid, though they need not all be permanent employees. For a major punishment, you might use family members, servants, or other marginal workers who already know the work. Carcass removal consumes cart capacity, animal power, space, and time. A horse too sick to walk is still extremely heavy. Collecting it from a village road can take most of a day. Useful material must be separated before decay destroys its value, and the remaining matter still requires disposal. Your yard needs to be close enough to reach customers and far enough away that the smell does not produce constant complaints. The location is imposed by your social standing, but it suits the operation. Land at the edge of the settlement works better for carcass processing than an expensive plot in the market square. You also need enough household labor to keep both forms of work moving. If the court summons you while a carcass waits in the yard, someone else must continue the processing. A son, son-in-law, or trusted assistant offers labor that has already been trained and is less likely to disappear after discovering the occupation's social cost. An apprentice in a respectable craft may eventually open a shop elsewhere. Your apprentice carries a connection to punishments and dead animals. Other opportunities begin to close, so the training is more likely to remain within the occupational network. For the office, that makes succession easier. For the family, it narrows the future. Suppose your son is competent but wants to become a baker. He needs access to an apprenticeship, guild acceptance, capital, customers, and a respectable household willing to connect with him. Your earnings can provide some capital. They cannot compel a guild to admit him or a family to welcome him. If he remains in your trade, he already has tools, contacts, training, and a plausible claim to an appointment. The inherited occupation may offer his best economic opportunity and his poorest social one. No law needs to command him. The available choices do the work. Experienced families also solve a problem for the town. Executioner skill is difficult to test safely. A baker can present a loaf. A smith can show a hinge. An applicant for your office cannot perform a practice beheading in the marketplace. Officials must rely on previous service, family reputation, recommendations, or successful work in another jurisdiction. An established network, therefore, has an advantage. A town seeking a replacement can approach a known executioner family or ask another city for a trained man. The same contacts can provide assistance when a complex sentence requires additional hands. Even with limited competition, you remain dependent on one dominant buyer. The authority that appoints you can dismiss you. You cannot refuse every foul duty while keeping the privileges attached to the office. If your appointment combines judicial punishment with carcass removal, you cannot accept the sword work and leave the dead ox in the road. The office lasts only while the services are performed. Officials can also scrutinize your conduct because all your coercive authority is delegated. Private revenge, unauthorized use of judicial tools, or violence against prisoners outside an order can turn a town servant into a town criminal. The appointment protects acts carried out under lawful command, not violence in general. At the scaffold, nearly every important decision has already been made. Judges identify the prisoner and impose the sentence. Officials set the day, guards deliver the condemned person, and the jurisdiction controls the site. You carry out the final physical act. Your room for decision lies in maintaining tools, training assistants, organizing transport, processing animal remains, finding buyers for usable materials, and preserving enough cash and supplies between judicial payments. You cannot make executions more frequent. To keep the household running, you make sure that executions are not required to support it alone. Neighboring jurisdictions, without permanent executioners, offer occasional extra work. One journey may bring a substantial fee compared with an ordinary local task. If several towns use the same specialist, your working territory extends well beyond your own walls. The journey still has costs. You lose time from local work, use a horse or cart, and may need an assistant. A workable payment has to cover the trip as well as the punishment. For a small town, hiring you on such occasions avoids the expense of supporting a permanent office all year. The larger town gains too, because outside fees help sustain the specialist it already keeps. One trained man can serve several jurisdictions, much as one mill or one highly skilled craftsman can serve a wider district. Except the miller is invited to dinner. After a successful year, you may hold more economic security than your social position suggests. You have an official appointment, recurring protected duties, valuable practical knowledge, a yard, transport, and a household trained to assist you. The town cannot easily replace all of that with the cheapest available laborer. Leaving is harder. A prosperous merchant can use money to pursue guild office, marriage alliances, property near the center of town, and public respect. Your money can buy grain, animals, land, tools, and dowries. It may still fail to open guild doors or persuade another family to accept your children. Return to the gallows outside the walls. Travelers see it against the horizon and assume it is the center of your livelihood. Behind it, the cart returns with a dead animal. An assistant repairs a harness in the yard. A hide is prepared for sale. The household waits for a court fee that has not yet arrived. Then an official messenger comes down the road. He already knows exactly where to find you. You make a living because everyone needs the work and almost no one wants your life.